Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that helps out my channel a lot. I also love it when you leave a comment, so please feel free to leave a comment. It's springtime, and the theme that I gave my patrons this month is flowers, so I'm going to make some flower rings today. I'm going to make 3 different kinds, and they're going to be kind of simple-ish ones, so not going to get too complicated, but I think they'll be fun. Before we get started though, I wanted to make an announcement if you missed my last video. My ebook guide to the 2023 video tutorials that I did, all of them, is available now on the merch store. So if you want to check that out, it's available for download. It's a great guide to access my videos from 2023. It includes not only a picture of the sketch that I made, the final product, a difficulty rating, a list of materials, and some notes about the individual project. It also has a live link to the video. It's a great way to find video project ideas, and I think you'd find it useful. So check it out. Before we get started, I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. I really appreciate not only the financial contribution that they've made, but also the nice environment that they've created over there. It continues to grow with lots of nice people, and they share ideas. And I just really appreciate that great environment that they've created over there. So thanks for that. I have a new patron, Ann J. I wanted to welcome you to my Patreon. Make sure to introduce yourself to everybody, and I think you'll find that they're a great group of people. So the other group is my YouTube subscribers. Thank you so much for all of your support, not just the financial contributions like the Buy Me a Coffee and Super Thanks, which are useful, but also the really nice comments that people leave. Thanks for that. That really helps out. Your moral support is appreciated. We just passed 11,400, and I think we're midway between 400 and 500, so we're moving up. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have you. All right, well, let's get started on this video. This is one of my design idea books. I have a number of different styles on my merch store if you're interested. I have found in recent times that sketching up a design in advance produces a superior result for me. I didn't used to do that when I first started doing this, but in recent years it has proven to be useful. These are great for drawing too, because they have a little dot matrix in the background that makes it a little bit easier for me to make symmetrical drawings, which is not necessarily my strongest suit. So these are some variations of things I've seen online, and I thought I'd give them a try. This one I think is a lotus flower, and I'm going to make it basically out of 16 gauge square wire with a little bit of embellishments here. I think I might use some sheet for these pieces, or maybe some half round wire that I file into kind of teardrop shapes to give it a little bit of three-dimensionality. I think this one will be pretty straightforward, just making a lot of connected kind of leaf shape or petal shape things. This one is going to be sort of a sunflower ring, and I went ahead, I made the center part of it in advance. I didn't lose it already. I wanted it to be kind of look like a sunflower center like that, so I used that as the center. What I did was I took some 22 gauge sheet, I domed it in my dapping block after I made it into a little disc, and then I soldered on a bunch of little tiny silver balls that I made on the charcoal block here. So there's an extra one that just fell off when I did that. So that was pretty straightforward, but since we're doing 3 projects, I figured I would skip a couple of things. So this one's going to be out of 18 gauge round wire, I think, and then the band will probably be 14 gauge square, maybe? We'll see. This one, I'm going to do a little stone in the center. I think these are 3mm little pink tourmalines. So I made a little bezel for that in advance, if I didn't lose that. Again, if you're interested in seeing how to make a little step bezel like that, I have a video up there you can check out on how to do that. But this one kind of looks like, I looked up different types of flowers, and this one looks like a Felugia, maybe? I'm not sure. It kind of looks like a columbine to me too, although it doesn't have the big leaf things on the top. I'm going to make this one out of 16 gauge round, I think, and then use some wide low dome half round wire for the band. Probably use 16 for these little things in the center of the leaves too. But So we'll get started first on this one, and I think we need to grab that 16 gauge square. I didn't have any 16, so I pulled some 14 through my draw plates until I had it to the right size. But I think let's start with, I guess we need a little starting point down here for this thing, to solder things to. And I think maybe I'll use a little bit of 18 gauge sheet for that. Here's a little piece of scrap 18. If you've never been to my channel before, I use primarily hard silver sheet solder, which looks like this. I use spray-on flux or a dribble-on flux. I've been dribbling a lot lately, since this seems to be a pretty useful thing that a friend gave to me. And sometimes I spray it on too. It's a liquid flux called My-T-Flux. I have some other ones from Pepe Tools that I have to break out and try one of these days that I haven't done yet. I don't need a very big piece of this here, so I'm just going to kind of scratch out a design there. I'll try and get it pretty close. I can usually do a better job if I use the marker to kind of color it, then I can use a T-pin or a pick or something in order to scratch the design. You could saw this out if you're a fan of sawing. When I say that it's the monthly theme over on my Patreon, it's every month I give them something to inspire some ideas, and this month it was flowers. So there's lots of different flower things you can do, so I thought I'd make something. Alright, so let's kind of find out about how long. I think we'll start with these ones here. So those are about 1 centimeter long for one side of them. So if I cut 2 of those that are about a little more than 2 centimeters, that gives me a little room to work with. So let's find the center of those. Alright, in order to get kind of a sharp bend there, I'm going to use my file. You can use a small file or a big file, depends on what you prefer to use. We'll start with a small one to get the line in the right spot. You can brace this against something if that works best for you. I'm using the corner of this so that I get a kind of a 45-degree angle going down from either side. To get it started, you can switch over to your bigger file if you want to. I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way through on these ones so I can get a pretty sharp bend. So let's see if we can't make a nice sharp bend there. In order to make those little bends permanent, I'm going to solder a little bit of solder, and put a little bit of solder right at the solder point there. So let's cut a couple of little ones. So I do a lot of what's called pick soldering, and that's where I use a soldering pick. This is a soldering pick. This is one I got from Pepe Tools I was going to try out today. It's a titanium one. This one has a tungsten tip on it and a wooden handle. This one has a titanium tip, so we'll give it a shot and see how it works. If you're interested in how to do pick soldering, I'll put a link up there for my pick soldering video. It's one of those things that kind of really amped up my skill level as far as making jewelry. pick that up like that. Heat this up to the soldering point. Right there. I've never tried that style before, but it seems to work very well. So let's see if we can bend them into a nice, kind of a nice petal shape here. I think it would be a good idea to solder these two together. I'm going to file this end a little flat like that on each of the center ends, so I can get a nice solder seam there. You could just lay a piece of solder on there if you prefer. I'll make sure I got a good seam on there. If you get one side or the other side up to temperature, but if you get one side up to temperature but the other side hasn't reached it, sometimes the solder will jump to one side, whichever side is hot enough. Alright, that's pretty close. I think maybe we should do the big main one next. So let's cut a little bit longer piece of that square wire. So we need to find out where to cut these off. Well, let's color them black like this. And then we can set the other one on top of this and make a little mark. Let's make sure that's in the right spot. So we should be able to cut those off where those lines are, close to it, and then file down to them. Okay, we got that part. I think let's do this next one needs to connect. Right about here. So in those spots. And these ones can be a little bit smaller. So let's do the same kind of thing. I'll probably just do about 2 centimeters and cut them off. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and do these and these two off camera, since you already saw basically what I'm going to do. And I'll come back on camera and solder them all together. And then we'll add these things in and we'll add a band. So I got these all pretty much shaped and filed into where I'm going to attach them. I also have, it's going to be hard to see here, but I have this piece here which I'm going to use for that. It's a piece of 8-gauge half-round wire that I just had laying around that I kind of created a sort of a rice grain looking piece. These are two little pieces of 12-gauge half-round that I cut off and filed kind of to crude points. They don't have to be perfect, just fit in these little spots right here. This central one right there. So let's get these all soldered together, and then we'll start adding those things if I don't accidentally lose them while I'm doing this. Alright, let's give that a shot and see before I bump it. These are pretty small in comparison to the rest of it, so I have to get this whole thing up to the right temperature in order for those to stick to it. And those being less massive get up to temperature pretty quickly. So I need to figure out about how far down I want these to split. And I think that the way I've got it drawn, it's about 10 millimeters. So if we go in about right here, I'm going to go 11 just to make it give us a little fudge room. Whenever you're soldering something long like this, if you're a beginner, it's tempting to just focus in the middle here where you're soldering it together, but you have to get the entire piece up to this solder's flow temperature. So you want to go all the way to the ends of the wire, even though you're not soldering anything there, because they'll act as kind of a way for the piece to bleed heat off, and you want the whole thing to get up to 14, in this case 1450 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty close. I like that. Okay, let's get that soldered together. And we keep adding more and more metal, so you still got to heat the entire piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bend this around the ring mandrel, I think. So we want it lined up on this right here. And we also want this lined up so it's touching. So I think probably for this one, I'm going to use one of these magnesia blocks. I think that one came out pretty good. For now, I'm going to pickle it, and we'll get started on the second one. Okay, for the second one, I did pretty much what I was doing with these little pieces with some 18 gauge round wire, where I made kind of petal shapes, and then I soldered them right here. And then, as I showed you earlier, I've already pre-made the center of this one. So my next step is going to be soldering these together. Because I have these little tiny solder joints I need to, get a little bit of solder into. So I have a little bit of 18 gauge. So let's figure out about how big a circle I need. I might be able to just do it with my little bail making pliers here. Probably if I go around this second biggest one, I think that'll probably work. Let's spin a few of these rings. Let's do it like that. That looks pretty good. Let's start getting this put together. So I have the band made and I've got it all lined up. So let's get this soldered together. This is way too small. I'm going to have to cut a new band. Okay, I'm going to cut this off and make it again because that's tiny. I don't know how I mismeasured so badly. I did. So I got a little bit longer band on there. Let's see if we can't solder the second side. I'll get that shaped better and pickled, and then we'll move on to the next one. For this third one, I need my little stone and setting, which I probably lost. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and cut all 5 of these, same way that I've done on the previous ones, and then I'll make some little curvy things, probably out of the same wire, and just kind of taper them a little bit. So I'm going to cut them about this long, and then I'll file the middle just like I did before, and then we'll bend them into a slightly different shape than we've done with these other ones, so they're kind of curved to one side. So I'll be right back. I was getting these all shaped, and then I realized I was starting to solder them together without showing you what I was doing, so I cut all these to where the length of this was the same on all of them, and the curve was pretty much the same. And then I'm just going to evenly space them around this. Like that. So I can use that kind of as a gauge to where to cut it off. I'm going to real quick add some little projecting things in the middle, and then I'll be right back. So that should give me a nice flat spot. And I think let's go with that one. I think I'm going to go with that. It's a little hard to figure out which way to line it up when you have 5 points, but let's try that and see how it looks. You can see it settling down a little bit when it attached. The other thing I'm going to do is drill a hole right down the middle so it has a hole through the band, and that'll allow some light to come through. So then I'll pickle it, and when we come back I'll show you the final product. So I got everything polished up. Here's the first one. That one looks more like a crown to me, but it's kind of a flowery sort of lotus sort of thing. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe like this. Second one being the sunflowery kind of one. And I think that's cool. I like it. I lost a little of the bumpiness of the round part of the middle, but I wanted it to be more cylindrical, but it still looks very cool, I think. This one, with kind of the twisty flower with the pink tourmaline. I think that's very pretty. I like that one most of all, maybe. Alright, well, I will take some better pictures and put them at the end. Alright, well that was 3 different sort of simple-ish flower rings. I hope you enjoyed those. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And check out a few other videos I have. I have well over 300 videos, tutorials now, so make sure to watch a couple. After you watch them, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and hit the notification button so you know when a new video comes out. I put out 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, one on Saturday, at least for the time being. And so there's lots of regular content coming out. Make sure to check out the video description as well before you leave. There's some important links there. There's my Pepe Tools affiliate link if you want to get yourself some really great tools. Pepe Tools has some quality stuff. Click that and check it out. There's a link to my safety video because it's important to keep in mind safe practices when you're doing this. There's a link to my website. There's a link to my merch store where you can get that downloadable ebook that I've made, which is a guide to my 2023 videos. As well as things like that design idea book if you want to have a sketchbook for yourself. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to help out with some supplies with a little tip. And finally, there's a link to my Patreon if you want to check that out too and find out more about that platform. So, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.